to CPC. It looks a deceptively short agenda, so let's see if that's how it works out in reality. Experience suggests not, but let's see how we go. There is the risk that now we've all done a few online meetings, we're getting overly confident. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Clifford that I follow all the rules and read out everything we're meant to at the start of online meetings. So the main thing I think I'm going to do is let everyone know it's being live streamed, which give them got the big live button in the corner, and anyone else would be watching it live streamed. It's hopefully taken as a given. I meant to let you know that's happening. Meetings taking place under the emergency legislation brought in as a result of COVID. And then I need to hand over to Clifford, who I think you're just going to run through the rules and procedures as we're doing it online. Is that right, Clifford?
That's correct, Chair. Thank you so much.
Oh, and welcome Councillor Selman, who's just joined us as well.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Councillor Selman. Protocol for this meeting. I know members have heard this before, but it is a normal procedure that we run through the protocols for all members and officers attending. The first one would be that if officers and members can only speak when invited to by the chair, and when speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. And if you wish to speak, please raise your hand as so. Thank you. And if you can direct all your communication via the chair as well. Please ensure that your mics are muted when you're not speaking. But if members and the officer who is introducing, please keep their cameras on, that would be helpful. If you are referring to a specific page or picture or diagram in the process of the discussion, please refer to the page number clearly so that officers and members can find that in the circulated documents. If you have any technical difficulties or delays, please use the chat bar at the right-hand corner of the screen, and Mario, our IT expert, will pick up on these for you and try to assist. Do not use the chat bar function for asking any questions formally to the chair, and also the chat bar is visible to all members and officers in attendance, so anything that is put in that chat bar can be done. And finally, if there is any persistent interruption or disruption by anyone attending, the chair will ask them to desist, and should that not happen, then the person concerned will be removed from the meeting and will not be able to return. Thank you, Chair. Oh, and just one last issue. If there is a need to move into part 2 to the exempt proceedings, if there's any members of the public in attendance, they will be asked to leave these proceedings. However, there are no members of the public attending today. Thank you, Chair.
Brilliant, thanks Clifford. The bit that always gets Clifford most nervous is that I forget that we have to take the exempt appendices in a private meeting, and he always looks anxious each time we start an agenda item and I haven't declared that. Remembering last time as well, I'm giving it to quite a small committee, what I might just do when we get to questions as well is just ask councillors in attendance if they have questions. And I seem to remember last time, and we should have picked up on this outside the meeting, it was a bit messy when it came to agreeing the recommendations. So again, maybe we just do that as a very quick roll call, as there's only a handful of us.
That should be fine.
Wouldn't like any doubt as to the outcome. Brilliant. So scrolling through all the normal items we have to cover, we have no apologies for absence. We have no items of urgent business, but we will give the reasons for lateness for the paper in item 7. I'm assuming we have no declarations of interest. I'll have a brief pause of silence to confirm that. Nope, no one's jumping in. Notice of intention to conduct business in private. Nope. We have no questions, deputations, petitions. One day we will receive one. Unrestricted minutes of Cabinet Procurement Committee held on 11th of March and special meeting held on 11th of May. Can I ask that this is where my thing, I'll go through everyone one at a time. Can I just ask that we have a chorus of agree to the minutes in item 6, please? Or just one colleague to say agreed.
Agreed.
Brilliant, thank you. I agree as well. That's fine. We've formally agreed. Cliff is smiling. We formally agreed the minutes for the purposes of. We'll get smoother at that part as time goes on. Which brings us on to our sole agenda item for tonight, item 7, which is procurement of the interim 18-month contract for provision of statutory testing, inspection, repair and maintenance services, which is a real classic CPC report name, in that it doesn't reveal much about what's inside it in the title, but we're going to come to that. I do just have to make members aware of the reasons for lateness. This was due to final details around negotiations with the contractor. And we've got Chris Pritchard here to introduce the report. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, I've been asked by Clifford to forward my introduction in advance, so if I don't look as though I'm looking you in the eye, it's because I'm reading it word for word and I want it to be consistent with what I sent earlier. So with that, first thing I want to do is thank the committee for accepting the report late in the day. It was quite a challenging programme, but it was COVID-19 that interrupted the flow of negotiation meetings ultimately. To some extent, as a client team, members were personally affected in some cases, and senior officers indirectly affected as we had to participate in the council's day-to-day response to the crisis. And in the end, we were unable to prevent that from delaying the report getting to you on time. Even though we had guys working late at night on analysis, some of the negotiation, the drafting and the editing. Unfortunately, we missed the deadline, I'm afraid. So I'm very grateful to members of the committee for accepting it late. I'm keen to introduce this report in the context of the long term. We're preparing to move towards a new mixed economy of in-house service provision and external private sector provision, where in the past we've relied almost exclusively on private sector providers to maintain the council's corporate estate. And it is the corporate estate we're talking about here, it's not housing at all. Now, an interim arrangement, rather than leaping out into a major procurement at this stage, an interim arrangement will enable us to undertake some informed planning of how we can take our first steps towards this in-sourced world, with a new scope for the next phase of our delivery, which we will take out to compete in 18 or 20 months' time, 18 months' time. These ambitions are being dovetailed into our long-term strategy for corporate maintenance that commenced back in 2014. That recognised at the time that the council had limited asset data and needed to improve this while strengthening internal and external accountabilities for statutory compliance. The report notes how the measured term contract has delivered these objectives, and how the proposal to adopt a new approach via the NEC3 form of contract will help it take advantage of the efficiencies and benefits available to mature organisations with strong data and experienced internal staff. In summary, this interim phase is a prelude to full procurement for a partially in-sourced arrangement, coupled with much more efficient contractual and client management arrangements, set up in a way to appeal to a broad spread of high-quality providers in the market. And I sincerely hope that for the private sector contribution, we will have a very good, strong competition when we do go to the market.
Brilliant, thanks, Chris. Just checking that's introduction done, not just a freeze in the board ranks. It went fuzzy there at the end.
It is done.
Thank you. Any questions from colleagues? What I'll do, because I can't see hands, is I'll just call out. So Councillor Selman, anything you want to ask?
Not for me.
Councillor Bramble, sorry, this feels terribly like a register, so apologies everyone. Oh, I don't know, we might have lost Deputy Mayor Bramble.
I don't have any contributions. No additional contributions, thank you, Chair.
Brilliant, thanks, Deputy Mayor Bramble. Councillor Burke, anything you want to flag?
Nothing from me, Chair.
At which point you might all be thinking, we're done, that's a very quick meeting, but I do have a couple of things. I think, firstly, just to touch on, it is a contract extension, which we're not massively keen on at CP. We understand why it happens, but it is difficult when it's an extension like this, and there were plans that, as I understand it, we're planning to be going out to market at this point, and we've had to extend, and I'm very wary of going into anything that might be in the content exempt appendix. But I suppose it's just worth flagging. I assume none of us want to be in this position that we will not be extending this contract again. This is a one-off extension, done. We are going out to market in 18 months' time, and that's a given. And then the other thing as well is, given that there seems to be quite a lot of work to be done to go out and deliver the model being proposed in 18 months, to request if we could have, and I think we have done this in other areas routinely, but it's where if we were in the meeting, I'd look right for your expertise at this point. But if we have an interim note come back to CPC, setting out how we're taking it forward, so there's that reassurance, whilst we're granting the extension now, the reassurance that we won't be in that position in 18 months. Is that something we can look at, Rotimi?
Yeah, yes, as you said, it's something we've done before, just to reassure members sorry for any noise in the background. My son is also working just beside me. So it's just to reassure members. Yeah, it's something we've done before in other areas, just to ensure that we're working to the strategy that's been detailed in this report, particularly in terms of bringing some of the service back in-house. So it will be a good thing for us to have some kind of report back in 6 months.
And the actuals which are being fed in.
So I guess back to you, Chris, to see if that's okay, and if we're okay to plan that into work for this area.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We're delighted to do that. And I think it's perhaps worth noting that we'll be drawing Rotimi's team into the process along the way, so that we can share their experience in other contracts with similar challenges. So we will simply program in a 6-month update to CPC so that we can keep abreast of where we are.
Brilliant, thank you. And yes, if I've understood the proposals right, and there's always that moment where you're worried you haven't, but what we're looking at is a hybrid model like that we've brought in other areas, where we'll start to bring some services in with a view to further developing future provision. Is that correct?
Well, the purpose of this 18-month interim contract is to give us a good 6 months to actually look at the best way to tackle that. We're not going to be able to bring all these services in-house overnight. I'm not sure whether the council would ever want to bring all of the services in-house, but we really need to put some informed work in, looking at how others do it elsewhere, and working with other parts of the council who will inevitably be able to assist us, such as housing. We need to put that time in to work out what is deliverable when we do go out to market. So we are hoping that when we do go out to market, we will have a defined scope of work which will be resourced by Hackney Internal Resource, and that we'll be able to clarify that before we go out to tender. So we're giving ourselves pretty much 6 months to do that piece of work.
Brilliant. That sounds really promising, because yeah, we've had some Councillor Burke's on call, obviously, and we've had some really good mixed models come forward around highways maintenance, and then some really interesting proposals around the DLO in terms of asset maintenance on estates, and looking at how they're developing sourcing there. So that's great, and I'm sure Rotimi has plenty of examples he's looking forward to sharing. I've seen a smile and a nod. In which case, I think that covers the report as it is an extension, other than noting a slight change in how the contract will be administered. There's relatively little to discuss. So we just need to approve the recommendations as set out, and so I might do the awkward register thing again, just so that you get the approvals noted, Clifford. So it's a yes from me, Councillor Selman.
Yes, sorry, struggling to get my mute off. Thanks.
It just adds to the drama that there's the delay with the pause button or the mute buttons. Deputy Mayor Bramble, you've disappeared from my screen, but I'm guessing that.
Agreed.
Oh, there, sorry, yeah, perfect. And Councillor Burke.
Agreed.
Lovely, thank you all. Right, we have, rattling through the rest of the agenda, we don't have any other items. We need to note the dates of future meetings. We don't need to exclude the press and public, so we're not going to discuss the exempt appendix. And and we just need to agree the exempt minutes from the previous meeting. Can we agree those? A chorus of agrees?
Agreed.
Agreed. Perfect.
Thank you.
Clifford, has that covered it all?
That's all fine. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Lovely. We're getting a nod and we can close the meeting. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.